Hey guys, so we're on round 2 of what started World War One. So where we left off on the last video, we were talking about how World War One actually started, and we said that the start of World War One actually started at least 30 years before the actual breakout of war. So we said those 30 years were marked by 4 tensions: nationalism, imperialism, militarism, and the formation of alliances. And we said that those built up over time, but it was really one little event that really sparked the war to happen. So where we left off was on this side. We were talking about the event. So on June 28th, we said that Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne, the next in line to be king to Austria-Hungary, was assassinated by a guy named Gavrilo Princip, and he was from Serbia. So that assassination is going to start the actual World War One. So then we have to think, well, how does one little spark actually start a war? So if we think about how that might happen, okay, when the spark turns into a war, okay, so this guy's from Serbia, he kills the Archduke. Fine. We have assassinations that take place in our country. JFK was assassinated. That did not start a world war. So how come this assassination did? Okay, so if we look at this side, on the bottom picture here that my head is a little bit covering up, Archduke Franz Ferdinand is the guy on the right, and then his wife Sophia is the lady on the left. She does not have a disease. That's just a netting that goes over her hat, if you're looking at the dots on her face. Okay, this was in the newspapers across the world, in our country, across Europe, and so forth. This was Gavrilo Princip. He was the 18-year-old nationalist that assassinated the Archduke. So if we think about how this actually turns into a war, so Austria-Hungary is really upset with Serbia. That makes sense. Okay, so Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia. That kind of makes sense too. Okay, so then we have to think, well, how does this all pull in these other nations? Well, the reason it pulls in these other nations is for the sheer fact that they had all of those alliances made up from 1871 to 1907. So when Austria-Hungary declares war on Serbia, Serbia's ally is going to come to their aid. Serbia's ally is Russia. Okay, so now Russia is involved in this war between Austria and Hungary and Serbia because they're in alliance. Okay, so Russia starts to mobilize. Okay, they're going to start preparing for war. Okay, knowing that they had the alliance, that signed agreement that they would help Serbia. Okay, when Russia ends up in the war, on August 1st, 1914, Germany, Austria-Hungary's ally, declares war on Russia. So now we have 4 major players in this war. On August 3rd, 1914, Germany also declares war on France, which is going to be Russia's ally. So now we have 5. And this domino effect is just going to keep occurring. So all the alliances that were formed early on are now enacted. They're all starting. So all of these countries are going to rush out to mobilize, prepare for war. So if we think about Germany, okay, there's going to be a map on an upcoming slide. Germany wants to get France out of the war quickly. They want to take over France first. So they're not going to go to Serbia and take them out. Okay, they're going to take France out. So to get to France, they decide to go through a neutral country called Belgium. Okay, if you are a neutral country, one of the rules of warfare is that you cannot enter a neutral country in the time of war. Germany broke that rule, and on August 4th, they went into Belgium to get to France even quicker. When they went through Belgium, it pulls in Belgium's ally, which is going to be Great Britain. So now Great Britain is forced to enter the war because they're Belgium's ally. So now we have all these major players in Europe that are now involved in this World War One, okay, of sorts. So if we look at the sides of the war, the 2 alliances, they're going to have names. So if we think about playing a basketball game, you have 2 sides. You have Marshfield versus Rapids. Alliances have the same thing. So the first side of the war is going to be the Central Powers, also called the Triple Alliance. That alliance is going to be considered Germany, Austria-Hungary, Italy. Italy later switched sides during the war. Okay, they're going to be fighting against the Allied powers, also known as the Triple Entente. That's going to include France, Russia, and Great Britain, plus other countries, including us later on. So we're only saying the major players at this time. Now, if we're looking at the map on our screen, okay, we see that the Central Powers are the countries in blue, and the Allied powers are the countries in red. From this map, we can see the clear division. Okay, we know who has the advantage. So if we look at this map and we're looking carefully, and I'm going to give you a second to look at it, we know that the red countries, okay, are going to have the advantage because they're on both sides. Okay, Germany's kind of stuck in the middle. So that means Russia can attack, okay, from one side, and France can attack from another, pinching Germany and Austria-Hungary in between, which means to fight these two empires, they're going to have to split their military up and fight two countries at the same time. That's the worst case scenario for any country in any war. So if we look at this war, once all the alliances were started and the conflict is starting to occur, they're going to call this the Great War. Okay, so the Great War was given its name because it was the largest war in history up to this point. So if we look at the amount of countries that were involved, we have 30 nations from 6 different continents. That's huge. Okay, the world never seen a war that big before. Later on, the Great War will change its name to World War I. We might think, well, why would they change the name of a war? Later, after the war is over. They changed the name around the 1940s. So if you think, what was happening in the 1940s? World War II was happening in the 1940s, which was even bigger than World War I. So the Great War wasn't the greatest war of all time. World War II is, so they had to change the name to World War I. Both sides, Austria, Hungary, and Germany, okay, France, Russia, later on us, are going to believe that this war is going to be really fast. Kaiser Wilhelm, the leader of Germany, felt that this war would be over in 6 months and they were going to end up the victor. Okay, we know, looking back on it, that that didn't happen. We know that the war lasted 4 years and so on. So if we think about the early battles of the war, okay, Germany, okay, is going to kind of take the lead on it. So the whole thing started the fighting because a Serbian assassinated the Archduke from Austria-Hungary. So we would think that the major players would be Austria-Hungary and Serbia. But Germany really takes the lead for their alliance. They're going to start making the plans. Okay, so Germany is going to come up with a plan named the Schlieffen Plan. And that's the plan that you're going to have to remember for the quiz and your test. Okay, so the Schlieffen Plan was Germany's idea to avoid something we know as the two-front war. We looked at the map early on, and we know that Germany and Austria-Hungary were stuck in the middle, which means they had to fight two fronts. A front is a battle line. So if they're going to be fighting, they have to fight Russia on one side, okay, and France on the other, which means Germany would have to split their army up, making them less powerful to fight both sides. So Germany's going to try to avoid that. Okay, they don't want that to happen because if that happens, their likelihood of success is extremely low. So Germany's plan to avoid the two-front war is going to be the Schlieffen Plan. The Schlieffen Plan meant that Germany was going to go in and put all their military in France and take them out early. After they took out France, then they would go on to Russia. So their main goal is to take out France before France was able to mobilize. Germany was already ready. They're marching through Belgium. They're going to attack France. Okay, France is going to be scrambling their men, okay, trying to get on the front lines and block Germany. France is at the disadvantage at this point. Okay, so this is Germany's plan. It's a good plan. Okay, so they didn't want to fight two countries at the same time. Okay, and again, that saves men and resources, time, etc. Okay, so if we look at this plan, Belgium was able to slow the Germans down, but remember, Belgium's a neutral country, so they have very limited amount of soldiers, more to help their people than to fight off a major country. Okay, so Belgium was able to slow the Germans down, but they were not able to stop them. Okay, so the leader of the Allied forces, so if we look at the Allied powers, France, Great Britain, okay, the commander of those forces was a man named Ferdinand Foch. Okay, so he's going to be the man in charge to fight off Germany at this time. So Germany and France are going to fight this huge battle at the Battle of the Marne. Okay, the Marne is a river. So in order to get to France and take them out, okay, Germany has to get to Paris. We said that if they take down the capital, and we talked about this before, if you take down the capital, you get the country. Okay, so in the time of war, countries are out to get the capital. They don't have to take over all the land. So the German military is going to try to get to Paris. To get to Paris, they have to cross a river. So Germany knows that they're going to block Paris. Okay, they're going to put all their troops around Paris. So Germany comes up with this plan to put their troops south. They're going to go south down here, cross the Marne River, and then come back up and take Paris because they figured the French would be unprepared. Okay, which they were in the beginning. Okay, so on September 3rd, 1914, the Germans are 25 miles outside of Paris. They have to get over this river. Okay, if they get over the river, they're going to take Paris. If they're blocked from the river, they're not going to get Paris. So the Germans launched this huge offensive to quickly defeat France. An offensive is an attack. So they're going to put all their military and their artillery and so forth and they're going to try to get across this river. Okay, at this time, the French army blocked the Germans, and they were able to push the Germans back. Okay, once the Germans are pushed back, okay, they're going to realize, okay, that this Schlieffen plan, the avoidance of the two-front war, is not going to happen. They're not going to be able to do that. Okay, because once they're pushed back, Russia's going to be coming from the east. If they leave all their military there, the German capital will be taken over. So once they're pushed back, they're going to have to regroup, split their army up, and they're going to have to fight the two-front war. So if we look at the two-front war, it means that you're fighting in two countries at the same time. Okay, and this gives that person the disadvantage because you're less as powerful. So the Western Front is going to be the North Sea, which is next to Great Britain, all the way to Switzerland. Okay, and the eastern side is going to be the Black Sea to the Baltic. So on the western side, they're fighting Germany and Austria-Hungary against Great Britain and France. And on the east side, they're fighting Germany, Austria-Hungary against Russia. Okay, so if we look at the map, we can see clearly, it's noted in the white line that goes across. We can see where that eastern front is, and on the left-hand side of that map, we can see the western front. This is like a snapshot. That area moves continuously, okay, depending on what area you're winning at the time. Okay, and knowing that I'm at 11 minutes, we're going to stop here, okay, and we'll regroup for the next video.